what can we as adult women learn from our younger selves or be reminded of from our younger selves?
Ashley, do you want to jump in with your like, because you had this like beautiful way of how you caught into this, like
how I connected to the project, the material.
Yeah, it's
okay.
relevant.
Yeah, so I grew up in South London on a council estate, and we always spent all of our summers outside. Like, you weren't allowed inside. Nobody wanted the kids in their house. So we were just all outside the whole time, and kind of like this little group of wild things, just doing whatever they wanted in a way that I don't think children are allowed to now, because we're just that much more aware and the world just feels a lot more dangerous. I couldn't imagine letting my child run to the corner store to buy milk, but I was allowed to do that all the time. So yeah, the film to me kind of had that. It was reminiscent of that for me. Like, it made me feel nostalgic. And reading the script and thinking about finding a way to key into the character did make me think about more of myself as a young girl and how I was. And when I sit and think about it, I realize that I'm actually not, like, I'm not that far removed from that Ashley. Like, she's still in there. She still will pop up and say hi. And it feels good to kind of connect with that version of myself.
Yeah, additionally, I think that, you know, when it comes to independent film, you know, there's virtually, I mean, in American cinema, I don't think there are very many, you know, examples of, you know, strong, funny, complex, young female characters to kind of use as a character North Star, you know, or someone that you're relating to as a young woman. And it's funny, of course, James is not a young woman making this movie, but James is a father, you know, and he had expressed, and I'm a mom, and I think he, having a daughter, all of a sudden went, oh yeah, where are the characters that she can kind of relate to within the sort of cinematic lexicon that I kind of mess around with, which is independent cinema, you know? And it's like, I have a daughter as well and a son, and I'm like, for both of them, frankly, not just my daughter, I want my son to see, you know, female protagonists as well. You know, I'm excited that something like this, where you have this like that female bond of young women is so real and so relatable, that, you know, you can see, you know, you get to like hold up the mirror to something that feels relatable, but that also is dealing with anxiety and like the unknowns. And, you know, we're dealing with a lot of that in our life now. And so younger audiences will have the opportunity to kind of like attach onto thematics without talking about it directly, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was always me, like, at that age, but I think my 20s and 30s, I spent a lot of time like doing what I thought other people wanted me to do, or what I thought would make me look cool to the people that I thought was cool. And so I feel like I got a little bit lost. And I think this film just came into my life at such a moment where I was like rediscovering that side of me, where it was just like, this is who I am. Like, I'm positive, I'm happy, I'm optimistic, I like look forward to things, I'm hopeful, you know, all of these things that these little girls are. And so I just love the story so much, because once you get to that place where you're looking at boys and you're trying to like find the one, and all of these like societal pressures that we put on women to like, this is what you're supposed to do, you know, right before you have to go through all that, that's where this movie takes place. And so we get to see these little girls as who they really are, who hopefully they'll continue to be those people, but they might get lost along the way, you know? So that's why I thought it was just so special.
Yeah, it's
it
like
really is special. No, like Sarah, like you, I feel like my 20s, I'm 36 now, and I feel like I finally have sort of reconnected with like 11-year-old Meg. And I think that comes with confidence, that comes with, you know, finding yourself. But I think what's so beautiful about this film is that you also have these very complex mothers that we see that these girls come from sort of different household dynamics, but the which I loved. I've never seen a film where we actually went home with each girl, and but the commonality is love, which we see is the most important aspect to a household, and that these mothers at the end are going to learn from their daughters and I think reconnect with that side of themselves if it's been lost a little bit. So it's this beautiful sort of symbiotic relationship that happens in the film. What I think my favorite quote in the film comes from your character, Ashley. Sometimes the sad parts make the happy parts matter,
Yeah.
which is so poetic, but the way you deliver it is so stunning. It's very like nonchalant, just like a badass mom does. It's just another teachable moment, right? It's such a profound idea that is like you're just passing along advice. And it got me thinking how many times my mom said things to me that were so impactful, but at the time it was just like she was having a regular old conversation with me.
But I think you are. I mean, I'm not a mother yet, but in working with children, which is happening more and more for me of late, I think that you like the best relationship you can have with them is when you have like a really honest, upfront relationship with them, and you try not to speak to them as children, and you just speak to them as equals as much as possible, with the knowledge that obviously you know more than they do, and you give allowances from that. But yeah, I try to deliver that line in a kind of matter-of-fact way, because I think the best parenting is that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Lake's the mother here. She should talk about it.
Lake, what you got?
No,
Give us some profound advice, baby.
because that is so the big secret is like, you know, from the second they come out, it's like, you know, the it is a privilege to be human. It's a privilege to age and to have the perspective to treat these little people as another person in the room, you know, and just be, you know, baby, we don't do baby talk and all that stuff. Like in the beginning, even you're just explaining to them how the world works. And so you can be soft and gentle without, you know, like sort of talking down to them in that way of like, you're not as smart as me. You know, frankly, they are much smarter, you know, because they,
Yeah, because they have that, it's like that beautiful authenticity that we lose, and for all different reasons. But and I think like hearing you speak, it reminds me kind of just like the overall essence of this film, which is a mixture of the light and the dark,
yeah,
which is life. And it's beautiful. And I wanted to say too about your character, Lake. I thought it was really impactful that when we first meet her, I mean, when we meet her, she falls asleep. She's asleep on a lounge chair, it looks like, which I think is like a glass of whiskey in her hand. And we immediately like judge her. And
yeah,
then we are given the chance, because this is the brilliance of, you know,
James.
your director and writer, yeah, given the chance to say, oh, wow, shame on us for judging this woman who's literally just overworked, exhausted, trying to make it work. And
Yeah.
it allows us to have a reflection moment of like how quick we are to judge as a society.
Yeah. I'm with you. I feel like, you know, especially as a mom, I when I'm watching films or I'm watching even in real life things playing out, I have to be really quick to like sort of slow my roll with my judgment, because you don't know what's going on at home. Like, you know, seeing a child, for instance, like having a full tantrum, and you're like, oh, that parent doesn't know how to like get their stuff together, you know, and you go, well, okay, so for instance, when my kid is, I've had kids tantrums, but little do they know that, like, you know, my daughter has epilepsy and she deals with anxiety because she doesn't know when she's going to get zapped and fall over in the middle of it. So she is freaking out about that in life, doesn't have the tools to kind of handle that. And so thus, and then her little brother is also like, why is everyone paying attention to her, so he has his own anxiety. Okay, so there's this whole dynamic that in the grocery store, if everyone's on the ground making a big mess,
Yeah,
like no,
it's not
that was
because
the whole story.
yeah, it's so
So
it's like
I feel short because I'm like at my wit's end. You know, it's like there's all these things. So yeah, when I'm playing this character, you know, this, especially when I play mothers, it's like, you know, this, you know, you will judge her initially, and then you will see that, you know, you don't know, you know, what behind the curtain, there's a whole cacophony of circumstances that
yeah, it was truly brilliant. And this whole film is just such an important one. And I also have to say just the fact that I can't wait for my young nieces to watch this, but also my mom
yeah
and my grandma. It's a generational film, and it really celebrates motherhood and sisterhood and yeah, so just thank you for your beautiful and honest and vulnerable performances. I'm so grateful for the work that y'all do constantly and the work you've done in this film. So thank you.